Hi viewers, thanks for tuning in. In this video, I'd like to share my thoughts on the Canon RF100-500 f4.5 to 7.1 telephoto lens. I've been using this lens for well over a year now, and I've been really impressed with the results so far. However, there are a few things that are still worth discussing, such as, is it really worth the hefty price tag? The huge elephant in the room, is 7.1 an issue? Is it light and portable? And should you actually buy it? Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Canon 100-500. This is f4.5 to f7.1. It's not white like all the others. One trip with this and it was already getting scuffed and marked, and basically it was just getting ruined. So I decided to put some kind of protective acrylic cover over it. Out in the field, this thing was getting absolutely battered, and it's a brand new lens, a very expensive lens. Not the most expensive, but a pretty expensive lens. So got this extra layer of protection on it, and it's working really well. 7.1, what were Canon thinking at 7.1? I think that's what a lot of people were kind of judging on this lens. It's like, because most people would be used to using the 100-400, which maxes out at what, f5.6. So to have a lens that goes from 4.5 to 7.1, I think a lot of people were looking at it thinking, I'm not really sure about that. I'm not really sure about f7.1. But the reality is that 7.1 actually starts at around 470 millimeters. So you've got 30 millimeters of focal range at 7.1. which is really not that much, to be perfectly honest. Nowhere near as bad as it sounds. Not as heavy as one of the big primes, but you're not going to get the same low light performance at 7.1. When you actually compare it to the other kind of telephoto lenses, zoom lenses in the same sort of bracket as this, you will actually realise that there's not really that much difference. But the real advantage is that they've managed to keep the lens as small and as light and as compact as possible. If we take the lens hood off, you can see that it's actually relatively small, and it's not really that heavy either. But obviously zoomed out, you're obviously getting roughly this sort of size. With the lens hood back on, okay, it's looking like a bazooka, but you know. But when compacted down and transported around, you can see that it's really not that big at all. And you can walk around pretty much, well, I can walk around pretty much all day with this. It doesn't really bother me at all. So one of the real advantages of this lens, the real great features of this lens, is the close focus distance of up to 1.2 meters. So anything from 1.2 meters onwards, you can focus on. Even at 500 millimeters, you can focus at 1.2 meters. That's pretty amazing, really. I mean, it kind of makes it almost like a macro lens. And also with the stabilization system built in, that obviously makes the lens bigger and slightly heavier to have that functionality built in. But that provides 5 stops of stabilization, which means that this can be used handheld, even at 500 millimeter focal range. When paired with the R5 and the R6, you're actually getting 6 stops with the sort of dual stabilization technology built into those cameras. That provides an extra stop of stabilization, which is pretty incredible. I don't think it's as good as some of the other stabilization systems on the market. I've used Micro Four Thirds before. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the Micro Four Thirds stabilization system, but for Canon, it's pretty good. Canon users will see a big difference in the quality of the stabilization in this lens. Micro Four Thirds users will look at it and go, nah, it's nowhere near as good. But it's a full frame system, so there's pros and cons of everything. We also have the 1.4 times and 2 times teleconverters that can be used for this, but there is a huge caveat to this. Teleconverters can only be used at around 300mm focal range. So the lens has to be extended out before you can actually attach the teleconverter, which is not ideal, but if you're going to use a teleconverter, it basically means that you want extra range anyway. So you're not going to be using a teleconverter like that. You're going to be using a teleconverter fully extended or from around 300mm out. That's how the teleconverter works. It's a bit of a pain, but a bit of a pain attaching the teleconverter, but using it is perfectly fine. Of course, it means that your f-stop is around f11, I think. Another major feature of this lens is its compatibility with the R5 and the R6 and the autofocusing system that's been incorporated into those cameras, and also the R3 that's now just recently come out with the new animal tracking, face detection, eye detection focusing system. This lens is obviously fully compatible with that focusing technology. So when this is paired with the R6 or the R5 or even the R3 that's now come out, performance of this lens, focusing wise, is just incredible, and something that we're going to look at in more detail. The focusing system, the speed and the accuracy was quite amazing. So this lens is probably the first of many telephoto primes and zoom lenses that are going to be released by Canon that are going to be using this new autofocusing technology. And it's something that is just absolutely incredible. You're going to see a noticeable increase in the keeper rate of some of the photos that you're going to be taking. You're going to have far less images out of focus. So if you set up custom controls, which I can show you in another video, to set up the back button focusing on the R5 and the R6, once you've done that, you can literally assign a button on the back of the camera that will be used as your eye detection. So you literally just hit that button, focusing system of the lens literally latches on to your subject's eye almost immediately. The feature that just massively improves quality of your photos and also just improves the keeper rate, really. So managed to take this lens out into the real world, so let's see how we got on.